All right. Hi, everybody. So, I figured I would give my 2 cents on this whole Roe versus Wade reversal topic that's been kind of trending for a bit now. And I wasn't going to talk about this because I know, I know there's so many other things that I've been saying I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about that stuff too, okay? But I saw this. I'm not trying to make a joke out of this. I'm just whatever. Um, but when I saw this article, I thought it would be kind of um, good for me to just highlight some things, and also I'm going to talk about my person. Okay, first and foremost, with regards to abortion, I feel like for me personally, my views on it are conservative for myself, meaning meaning that I never felt that that's something that I would be able to do. Okay, so for myself, for my own personal life, and how I feel about that, that's something that I don't believe that I've never done it before. I have had 2 miscarriages, so I surely know how hard it is to have that type of loss. And I have known people who have gotten abortions, and some people who have really regretted it. Okay, not all. And I know that what I'm saying right now is making me sound extremely conservative when it comes to this topic, and I'm actually not. Okay, like I said, I'm very conservative with myself when it comes to this. However, when it comes to other people, I believe that that is a woman's choice. Okay, so that's so I'll get that spiel out of the way to kind of cut through the stuff if people don't want to hear what I'm gonna have to say at the end of this video. Okay, so I'm gonna do what I always do, my usual spiel, and I'm gonna read and then talk my bull crap at the end. Okay. So U.S. abortion ban will be devastating for Hispanic and Black communities. Marginalized communities in Florida, Texas, and Puerto Rico already struggle to access. So people have been living in a post-Roe world already, says Aureli Colon. I don't know how to. Laura, wow, I'm not even going to try. Just because abortion is legal doesn't mean that it's accessible. Colon is policy advocate for the Florida branch of the Latina Institute, which works with Hispanic people at a grassroots level to help them access reproductive health care. The U.S. Supreme Court looks set to overturn Roe versus Wade, the 1973 landmark decision that granted abortion rights until the 24th week. But pro-choice activists in Florida, Texas, and Puerto Rico say marginalized Hispanic and Black communities already face barriers in accessing abortion services, and that they stand to suffer the most if Roe is overturned. Maite Canino from the sexual and reproductive rights group Planned Parenthood in South, East, and North Florida said that people face all sorts of barriers while Roe is still the law of the land. It's horrible to think about what will happen if it's overturned. According to a draft opinion leaked this month, the conservative majority in the U.S. Supreme Court is heading to overturn Roe. The final decision will probably be announced in June. It's insane. Every time I think about it, when I hear about it, it's so insane to me how things can just be reverted back so quickly. The ruling is likely to end the federal constitutional protection of the right to abortion, opening the way for laws banning or restricting abortion in 23 states, including 13 states with so-called trigger laws that will enter into effect almost immediately. Only 16 states, including California, Colorado, and Oregon, and the District of Columbia, have legislation in place that secures abortion rights after Roe, according to a report by the Guttmacher Institute. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Florida does not have a trigger ban, but in April, Ron DeSantis, the Republican governor, signed a bill that bans almost all abortions after 15 weeks. A pregnancy can be terminated if the life of the pregnant person is at risk, but there are no exceptions for cases of incest, rape, or human trafficking. The law comes into force on the 1st of July. Before I continue, it's cases like that make me flip the hell out when it comes to this whole Roe versus Wade stuff, all right? There are no exceptions for cases of incest, rape, or human trafficking. And this is what pisses me the fuck off when it comes to people who are conservative, who never, I'm sorry, I'm going to be banging on this, who never, ever, ever, if you present this to them, they never have an answer to that. They never have, and this is what bothers me, okay? And the reason why is because I know people personally who have gone through things like this, who have been who have had children as children, who were raped by people within their community, people that their family knew, and people from their family, right? Not obviously not all together, but I personally know people who have gone through these things and were forced to keep their children. And the people that I've known are people that are a lot older, okay? So because they grew up in, like, especially, you know, with Latin people, you know, when it comes to like this topic, when it comes to like abortion, like they're, for the most part, they're very against it. So when shit like this happens, they want to force their, you know, especially back in the day, they forced their daughters, whether their daughters were under, you know, if their daughters were underage, you know, they were raped or whatever, they would force their daughters to have those damn kids. And it's stuff like that, you know, I try not to get like this, because it's things like that make me despise Latin people, okay? I try not to, but it's things like this that like make me despise Latin people. Oh my God. Okay. So I'm just gonna keep on reading, all right? You know, because this is why I say, for myself, I'm gonna kind of like reiterate, I'm very conservative when it comes to this, right? Having an abortion is something that I don't believe that I would have ever been able to do. Especially, I mean, at this point in my life, I'm already older. I already have 2 children. I've been very, very blessed, okay? Having an abortion is something I don't ever believe that I would have been able to do, right? But in cases like this, why? Why is it that people who are on the conservative side cannot see how wrong this is? You know, that they just can't. You know, I that's the part that infuriates me. And in cases like, oh my God, I could even, you know what? Let me stop. Let me shut up. Let me just keep reading. Let me shut up, Moon. Additionally, a Florida judge ruled that patients must wait 24 hours after an initial medical appointment before they can have an abortion. Both the 15-week abortion ban and the 24-hour waiting period are huge barriers for patients from low-income communities, particularly Hispanic and African-American people, according to Cologne. Almost a quarter of Florida's population are Hispanic, and almost a third, 29% of them, are poor. More than 16% of the state's population are Black, and 20% of them live in poverty. Sometimes people have to travel for 2 days, and now they will have to wait another 24 hours. That means job loss, and who will take care of the other kids? There are also language barriers. Putting it all together, it makes it harder for a person to access abortion, Canino told Open Democracy. Another barrier is anti-immigration laws, according to Cologne. Undocumented migrants with unwanted pregnancies may miss health appointments out of fear of deportation. A similar problem affects those who need parental consent if their parents are undocumented. We see those anti-immigrant and anti-abortion laws go hand in hand and create a fear that makes people not want to seek reproductive health care, she said. Texas. Last year, Texas passed a bill that bans abortions after 6 weeks, one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the U.S. The state has the longest border with Mexico in the U.S., more than 1,200 miles, and is home to one of the largest Hispanic populations in the country. 39% of Texans are Hispanic, of whom more than a third, 34%, are poor. You hear my cat, right? Munchkin. Uh-oh. I don't know why he's starting to whine, but he is old and he does that sometimes. So he'll like go to the bathroom and he'll start like running around upstairs back and forth and just start randomly meowing. Okay, so I guess, of course. When I do a video, that's when he has to do that. He doesn't do it all the time, but he does do it. And I guess today is the day. See, I swear, sometimes it's like I got to talk about serious things, and then like I'm cracking up a lot of the times. Anyhow, oh, all right. Overturning Roe would be devastating for undocumented migrants in the Rio Grande Valley of Texas, a primarily Hispanic border region, according to Paula Saldana, a local field organizer for the Latina Institute. Chaos has already broken out in my community. The fear of visiting a clinic is always widespread among undocumented people. Many people in this region cannot afford to travel to other states for abortions, let alone other countries, and might even resort to using unsafe methods to travel to Mexico, Saldana said. Even though overturning Roe is not an official decision yet, chaos has already broken out in my community. The fear of visiting a clinic is always why, blah, 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 blah. That's what I read up there. Puerto Rico. The consequences of overturning Roe will also be felt in the Caribbean island of Puerto Rico, a U.S. quote-unquote territory, not a state, as a result of its colonial history. Abortion is legal in Puerto Rico because of its own Roe decision. Pueblo versus Duarte, a 1980 constitutional court ruling that protects a woman's rights to have an abortion. But lawyer Francis Galazzo, co-director of Pro Familias, which runs one of only 4 abortion clinics on the island, says repealing Roe could restrict access to abortion services via new legislation. If Roe versus Wade is overturned, Galazzo thinks anti-abortion forces in Puerto Rico will be empowered to escalate their campaigns. In the past few years, at least 10 bills have been introduced to Puerto Rico's Legislative Assembly to restrict sexual and reproductive rights, she told Open Democracy. The most recent one, which bans abortion after 22 weeks, is currently being debated by the Puerto Rico Senate. The only exception would be if the pregnant person's life is in danger. Puerto Rican politicians will be like, if the United States, at the level of the Supreme Court, stopped protecting the right to abortion, then I am not going to go against that rule of law, she said. I'm not surprised. Fighting back. Retiree Minerva Glidden, who worked as a nurse through the pre-Roe era and is an activist with the Florida branch of the National Organization of Women, says she never expected that the right to abortion will be abolished. In the 1960s and 70s, women attempted desperate measures to end a pregnancy. I once had a 14-year-old girl who was raped, had an unsafe abortion, and suffered an infection. We had to remove her uterus at age 4. Fucking pieces of I'm sorry. You see, it's stuff like this. I'm sorry. I know I read that. I know this is like it's supposedly an old story. But still, it's stuff like this that people always want to overlook, that the right always wants to overlook. Why, guys? Why do you always want to overlook that? And to me, there's an underlying reason to that. And I genuinely believe that what this is trying to do is to push, especially girls who are minors, basically to make them into adults, to make them have the accountability and not these disgusting ass pedophile men who take advantage of these girls, right? So the accountability is basically no longer on the man. The accountability is on the child, all right? And that's basically what they're trying to do. They're trying to make these girls have the accountability of women, right? And these men have no accountability because absolutely nothing happens to them, okay? In most cases, nothing happens to them. And people can argue me if you want, but you'd be full of shit if you do. We don't want to go back to that. And with the possible overturn of Roe, we are all outraged. We didn't see it coming, but pro-choice activists are determined to fight back. Reproductive health groups and providers will ensure access to services for people who need abortion, said Planned Parenthood's Canino, including transporting people across state lines. Colon from the Latina Institute urges people to donate to specific abortion funds so that patients in need can afford a procedure in the state where they live or can travel to other states for termination. It will take a whole village and a whole community to get this fight together, but we are determined, she said. Well, that's pretty much it. So, yeah, that's sort of my, I'll just kind of talk a little more crap before I leave, and I'm like in 15 minutes sort of right now. But yeah, so like I said, I'm conservative when it comes to this stuff, for my own personal life, right? But at the same time, especially with like these, these young girls, and I'm not saying that these girls that are like, teenage girls, that they should have, should just be able to do whatever it is that they want or whatever. But at the same time, especially when, oh my God, especially in the cases where these girls are like young teenagers and they're freaking getting impregnated by these dudes that are in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s and older. I can get into like how fuck it. Those guys should be shot. Like dead serious. They should be shot. They don't deserve life, in my opinion. Any man that is a pedophile or rapist does not deserve life. I don't care. But at the end of the day, I am not the judge, right? The one who's the judge is the Most High. So I could say whatever my opinion is on that stuff, right? But it's not up to me in the end. God is the one who does all of that in the end. So if God, decides to, forgive these, these demons, and, they say a prayer before, which I think a lot of, let me not even get into that. Ugh. Yuck. Sorry. It's, ugh. So anyhow, yes. So when it comes to that, I have very obviously strong beliefs when it comes to that, and I think the Latin community does not. I think for the most part, especially Latin women, we're very complacent, and we don't like to rock the boat for the most part, and we don't like to speak up against men who take advantage of the women and girls and even boys in our community, right? And I've already said in previous videos that I know that women do stuff too in our community, okay? So don't even go there with me. This video is really pertaining to an abortion ban, and that is only something that can occur with a biological woman, okay? So, and the only one who can impregnate a biological woman is a man. So, so anybody comes up in the comments, trying to be stupid, don't even, all right? But yeah, this, I find this insane. I find it insane that this country can really go backwards like this. And, my husband and I, when we were talking about it, he's always, one of the things he always says is like, things can really revert back, to really scary times. It's like, if this can happen, what makes you think slavery can't happen again? What makes, and he was kind of like getting into stuff like, what makes you think that those things cannot happen again? And he's right, because when I'm looking at this, I'm like, how is this possible? Like, how can a reversal like this even happen? And just the fact that there's, these people that have the people that are, these politicians, these people in Congress, the fact that they have no care for like the instances where these girls are getting raped by these elders, or being taken advantage by these elders, even if the girl is in her teens and she's still like consenting and saying yes, she's still a minor. You know what I mean? That's still a minor. And how is it that the men that are doing this are not being held accountable? Instead, what they're trying to do is make these young girls accountable for these predators, for these men who are predators. That's honestly, like, those are the cases that I care about more. I know that people can, like, I'm just rambling so much. I know that people like talk about how, like, there are these women out here who are just constantly getting abortions left and right and da-da-da-da-da-da. And don't get me wrong, I know that there's women that do that have, I've heard of stuff like that, women that just get abortions like, like nothing, and they don't. But honestly, from my lived experience, knowing women who I haven't known that many women who have had abortions, number one. And number two, the majority of the ones that have usually regret it. They usually regret it. Okay? So it's like, I care more about the cases where it's like, these younger girls that don't know what the fuck they're doing and they're being taken advantage of. And then, these guys that are doing it basically get a free pass to be a damn, evil demon, right? And they get no accountability. And I think that that's, to me, the underlying thing. I've always had, and I've always said that when it comes to our system and when it comes to men who are like rapists and pedophiles, for the most part, you know, these dudes are not like in prison for life and shit, the way that some of these guys on social media make it sound like. That's bullshit. That is complete and utter bullshit. A lot of times they don't get a lot of time. And a lot of times if things aren't proven, right? Which nowadays where everything is like, everything needs to be recorded. Like if it's hard to prove a case, a lot of times these men get away with these things. And now there's going to be more men getting away with these things if this Roe versus Wade gets overturned. Because now there's going to be more, you know, men probably taking advantage of these young girls. And they know that these young girls, they're not going to give a shit. And these young girls are going to have to be the ones to live with the burden of getting pregnant. You know, it's just scary. It's scary as, you know, I as somebody, you know, like myself, I have a daughter. My daughter is small, you know, and it really does scare the crap out of me, you know, where it's like, if God forbid, you know, I were to find something out like that and this Roe versus Wade stuff is overturned, then me and my husband are going to have to turn to street justice in order to, for, you know, for things to be justified. You know, like we're going to have to go find the guy, do something to the guy, and we're going to have to take matters in our own hands because, you know, he's somebody that needs to be dealt with for taking advantage of a child. Anyhow, God forbid, and, you know, we'll definitely do what it is that we need to do to protect our child, right? I know that I'm totally going off in a tangent right now. I'm sorry. But anyhow, enough of my ramblings. I'm going to go for now. Yeah, and I guess that's about it, you guys. I'll see you all in my next one. Take it easy. Bye.